Chad said, well, next pit stop, we'll give you a tear off and clean it off for you. In the meantime, stay focused. Let's stay ahead, guys.
Yeah, Jimmy, what I heard there on that radio transmission was he was talking about a massive caster shake, and what he's talking about is some of the front end settings these guys are using are so radical with this new car that it probably causes some instability at low speed. And he was kind of wondering if that was causing any problem. You see Mark Martin using that high side around Matt Kenseth, but it's probably like if you've driven an old truck and you get that real shake, that massive shake, and you get it at a certain speed. Evidently, that happens at a low speed on pit road.
I think we saw there Matt Kenseth just pull over. He realized that he had 2 tires, Mark Martin had 4, and Mark Martin's got a fast race car. And that's just 2 respect that Matt Kenseth has for Mark Martin.
Matt Kenseth trying to rebound. Oh, the 18 car trouble, the points leader.
Is he just out of the groove?
Well, he was way up across the racetrack.
He's been driving in that corner really hard. He could have gotten out of the groove.
11 back here by himself.
Heard his spotter tell him a good save, so he must have just gotten in there a little bit too hard.
And he was headed in that direction. Watch him entering turn 1.
Oh, yeah, baby. You don't want that car jumping out sideways at that speed.
Wow.
You know, he'd been driving that car down in that corner so hard. You could see the car kind of getting out of shape the laps before that, too.
Is that the 2 tires only he took, and the fact that he's being so aggressive with just 2 tires?
Well, I'm sure that he's pushing it to the limit to see what he can do with that race car, and I think he found out right there that that's a little further than he needs to be driving it with this particular setup and with the 2 tires right now.
Really going to see what 2 tires will do against 4 tires when you see Mark Martin and his 48 get together, because they were the 2 best cars before this caution came out. We're seeing Mark Martin inch up closer and closer to the 48. Right here you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. passing Kyle Busch.
Yeah, Casey Kane jumped right in behind Dale Jr. and kind of what we're seeing is that turn 1 that the inside is the better place to be, and as you get to the tunnel turn, it's definitely the place to be, as we see both of them make that pass on Kyle Busch.
Kyle loses 2 positions from 8th back to 10th. 2 tires or 4 tires? Remember, the 48 car took 2, the 8 took 4. Rusty, what do you think, bud?
Oh, I tell you what,
take a look. Rusty thinks.
Yeah, you guys know I'm a 4-tire guy. I love 4 tires, and right now Mark Martin is wearing these cats out as far as speed, almost 0.4 of a second faster. I mean, it's really getting it done. I mean, that last lap by, I mean, starting to catch Jimmy Johnson right now, and Mark's working the top, the bottom. He can go anywhere at once right now, guys.
You know, Rusty, though, this is the time for the 48 team to try 2 tires, because they're not going to lose too much here. They may lose a few spots, but at least it'll tell them how they'll act later in the race.
Well, Andy, exactly right. I mean, I was thinking that same thing. I mean, when Chad Knaus brought Jimmy down and put 2 tires, hey, try it right now. It's early. If it doesn't work, you won't play with that no more. But I got a feeling they're going to stay with 4 after what Mark Martin's doing to them.
You know, and Rusty, this used to always, there wasn't a question. You got 4 tires at this racetrack before the June race here. And I think the only reason that they found it working was because this particular car uses up those 2 right side tires the most.
Oh, yeah, I know. This is a totally different track than Indy, but, I mean, last week in Indianapolis, I mean, the left side tires weren't hardly wearing at all, and the right sides were wearing crazy. It just goes to show you how tough this particular car is on the right sides. But you know what, guys? I still like 4.
Rusty Wallace knows what he's talking about here, folks. He won this race 4 times, and boy, he was about as good as it gets coming off of turn 1 down there, driving it long straightaway. Well, the front row running 1-2, and what did you expect? Mark Martin, he wants it in a bad way, but Jimmy Johnson's going to be tough to beat. He's the leader at Pocono.
Got a whole lot of racing coming up on ESPN. NASCAR Now recapping today's Pocono race tonight, 10 Eastern time. Then our Monday roundtable at 5 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. Our coverage from Watkins Glen. Qualifying Friday, 3 Eastern time. Nationwide Series qualifying Saturday morning, 10 Eastern time. The Nationwide race Saturday afternoon. That's on ABC. And then the Sprint Cup Series race 1 week from today, ESPN 1 Eastern time. We'll go road course racing next weekend in Watkins Glen. Here is the fight for the lead as we welcome you back to NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing at Pocono, presented by Cheez-It. Jimmy Johnson with Mark Martin kind of stalking him after a little pit strategy a little bit ago.
Well, I tell you, Mark put 4 tires on compared to Jimmy Johnson's 2 tires, Brad, but he's got right to his bumper, but right now it's kind of slowed down. He just can't seem to get around. It looks like the aerodynamics is really affecting Martin's car at the moment.
I think you're absolutely right. When Mark backs off, he actually is faster
than Jimmy when he gets far enough away from him to get out of his aero draft, but he just cannot simply get around him. But I've been keeping my eye on David Gilliland. Look at what he is doing. He is in 4th position right now, had a great qualifying run in 3rd. He stayed up front all day long. This cat could be around at the end of the day. He could be a player.
Had 3 cautions already in the race, one on lap 1 when Kevin Harvick and Joe Nemechek spun. Kurt Busch spun at lap 8, then a competition yellow at lap 21 as we have a new leader.
Oh, there we go. Now let's see how much faster Mark's going to be than Johnson has. Got that clean air, got that front end pushed to the ground. It's going to turn a lot better. And I really want to look at the speed differential now between the 48 car Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin with the 2 versus the 4 tires.
Remember, on the set of pit stops, we had a number of cars take just right side tires, only Jimmy Johnson's among them. Talking about David Gilliland, David Burns, what are they saying down there?
Yeah, I'm just keeping my ear to the tracks on them right now. David radioed in about 5 laps ago that he has a vibration that's coming and going. Now, you guys know the good thing about vibrations is that they keep going. So right now, it's not terminal or anything like that. And he didn't say whether it was drivetrain or wheel related, but for the moment, it is backed off, but he did report it.
David Gilliland trying to make the pass, and he went in a little hard, and here comes Matt Kenseth to what they call the slide job, right back underneath him for position.
Well, he hadn't got it done yet. He's trying that slide job, but this 38 car is strong.
You know what the vibration he's feeling might be? The 11 car coming in a hurry. I mean, Denny Hamlin is just ripping. He's cutting about 4 car lengths off a turn.
I just don't like to have a vibration in any track, but especially this one because the engines are so stressed. You got to wonder if there's something happening inside there. Man, I just always worry about hearing that.
Denny Hamlin moving in on the 17. More on Denny with Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, you know, I spoke with Denny Hamlin's crew chief before the race. He was one of the guys who did opt to work on race practice, in practice on Friday. They did get some work in. Mike Ford said they were not 100% happy with this car. They said they were going to take the first 20 laps before the first pit stop, just kind of figure it out. They were tight. They made an air pressure adjustment, and man, does that car like that air, because he is moving through the field right now.
Shannon, you're exactly right. And, of course, he won both events here in 2006 from the pole as a rookie. And, by the way, you Michael Waltrip fans, the 55 car has gone to the garage area. We'll try to update what's going on with his machine back in the garage. He is the only car off the track. We still have 42 on it, and all 42 right now are still on the lead lap. What about the 18 car? Points leader, Kyle Busch. Let's listen in.
Locked up the right rear tire getting into one last time. I think the chain's a little tight. Should be over an inch of droop there. Should be all right.
Yeah, what he's talking about, there are chains that you hook to the rear end housing, so when you make pit stops, it picks the wheel up real quick so you don't have to wait on it to come up. And you always try to set those just as tight as you can for speed on pit stops, but it's a balance. And for more on that, let's go to the ESPN Tech Center and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Andy. What we got here, folks, is just a simple chain. We've got one on each side of the rear of the car. And like Andy says, what we do, we loosen this chain up. And we've got a ladder here. It's in double shear. We can actually move this chain up and down through here. And that way, the rear tire changer, when the car comes in, when it's out of fuel, hadn't got no weight on the rear, we can adjust that thing to where the tire comes off about the same time the front one does. Andy?
That's cool, Tim. We always try to push it right there.
Tim, thank you very much. The Chevy Cutaway car showing you exactly what happens there with that chain hooked up and how it works, DJ.
Yeah, and that's a good idea. They're probably not going to take any time to do that. My suggestion would be him cranking some rear brake out of that. You alluded to the fact that he was driving it awfully hard into the corner. He may just have a little too much rear brake, and right now he could compensate for that just by dialing a little bit more of that brake to the front.
The other thing is he said it was his right rear he was locking up getting in there, and that chain going in the corner is not tight. That whole car is in compression at that point.
What's the liability, though, if you dial too much rear brake in the car? What happens?
Well, I mean, it helps you to get the whole car load down, and it'll help you in the center of the corner more. But on exit, you really have to be careful that if you're getting on the brakes pretty hard, that you don't start that car to wheel hopping, and that's what's going to happen. And the back end of the car is going to jump out from under you.
Kyle Busch in the 18 car trying to make his way to the pack. Here's the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. going by Greg Biffle. That is for the 7th spot. Mark Martin is a leader. Jimmy Johnson second. David Gilliland. Remember the vibration or whatever they were concerned about there. Denny Hamlin is 4th. Kenseth, Gordon, and now you see them coming off of turn 3. Gordon a little bit of a wiggle. And about 4 or 5 car lengths back between Gordon and Earnhardt Jr. as he's trying to hold off Biffle and Casey Kane. More on the 88 with Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, you know how I told you at the beginning of the race that Dale Jr. wanted to be tighter in this race? He's not. He's loose. That's what he's telling his crew chief, Tony Eury Jr. right now. Snug in, loose off.